Hello and welcome. I'm Sulaiman Alede. Tonight, counting of votes are underway as the people of Kogi State await the verdict of who would be their next governor. The federal government commences the process of returning displaced persons from the northeast who have been seeking refuge in Abuja back to their states. The World Bank warns states who are beneficiaries of her environment protection programs in Nigeria against complacency. Malian authorities hunt for the suspects of the hotel attack in Bamako.
And on Business News tonight, Ogun State Government holds Treasury Board meeting on 2016 budget proposal.
And in sports news, another fantastic performance in La Liga as Barcelona thrashed Real Madrid in the season's first El Clasico.
"22 candidates, 21 local government areas, 47 newly registered voters, a closed poll. And there you have it. Residents of Kogi State and Nigerians in general wait with bated breath as votes are being counted after polls ended in the governorship election. Polls opened as early as 8 in the morning when accreditation of registered voters began. That process was extended by an hour 30 minutes and ended at 1:30 p.m. Our correspondents covering the election say INEC officials and materials arrived most polling units a little after 7 a.m. All accredited voters will choose a governor from the 22 candidates cleared by INEC to contest in the election. There's heavy presence of police with up to 15,000 officers and men deployed for the all-important election in the state.
One after the other, they put their ballots in the ballot box. Fulfillment of the purpose that brought them out since the early hours of the day. 21st of November 2015, that's the day most of them have looked forward to, and it has come to pass. Since morning, starting with accreditation, people of Kogi State have looked forward to a moment where they will be able to elect a governor for another 4-year term. We've gone round town from the west, central, and the east senatorial districts of the state. The atmosphere has been calm.
The turn-up has been quite fair because we have a registered number of voters here, which is about 1,806, but then the turn-up is fair.
So we came as early as possible. We set up our layout. We pasted every necessary thing, the poster, the names, so for easy access so that everybody can get the thing very quickly and go home.
INEC has been under intense pressure on just how the permanent voter cards and the card readers will perform at this election. Well, for the voters and the election observers, they have their differences on this particular issue.
A bit of delay in accreditation starting out in the polling units, but picked up later in the morning, and officials have been in virtually all of the polling units across the state. A few lapses in terms of presence of police in some areas, but by and large, a good presence of security as well. We have seen accreditation go on smoothly. Of course, a couple of failures of the card readers in some of the polling units.
Well, we're very much in favour of the use of the card readers. We think they're an excellent innovation. We think they were excellent during the presidential and gubernatorial elections earlier this year. So we think it's a good thing, frankly, to use the technology to try and make things as assured as possible.
Give me your impression about the voter attitude of voters and their composure around the voting area.
Sure. Well, I'm always very impressed by the patience that Nigerian voters show to turn up and accredit and then later in the day to come back and vote. So people have been very patient, calm. It's a very hot day here, but people have been patient and calm, waiting in line, and that's been very good.
Okay, the card readers are quite effective, but then when it gets to the finger thumbprint, it fails. So that's like the major challenge we have here. There's a form on ground for the person to fill when the finger thumb fails to read. So afterwards, the person could be accredited and eligible to cast his or her votes.
Security operatives of different colors and shades have been here in Kogi State to monitor the election. In their numbers, they've trooped out to make sure that sanity is brought into the process. Well, eyes on every aspect of the election to make sure that the box and the ballots are well secured. From Lokoja, the capital of Kogi State, Seun Okinbaloye reporting for Channels Television News.
Sean, that was the report you filed in earlier today, and we understand that voting is already over in most parts of the state. Tell us what exactly is happening in what you call the Situation Room in Lokoja. We do hope we'll be taking you back to show pretty much later to give us updates on what exactly is happening there live in Lokoja, the capital of Kogi State, where we understand INEC is just about now doing the counting and collation in that particular election. Joining us now live on the news at 10 to look at the Kogi governorship election is Dr. Dele Asheru. He's a political scientist at the University of Lagos. Good evening and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Quite an interesting moment. It's the first for a whole lot of people, especially first election that the president will be overseeing as the president of Nigeria, first for the Inspector General of Police, and even first for the leadership of INEC. Your assessment of this particular election?
Well, from reports coming in, I think it's so far so good. The level of violence is been brought to the barest minimum, contrary to, I mean, what we were used to, you know, in days gone by. And I must also say that from feelers that we are getting, the card readers also performed at least more than beyond average in most of the local governments, even though some isolated cases were reported. And I mean, the president himself must be commended for, you know, his seemingly standing aloof, irrespective of the fact that his party is also, you know, contesting this election. So on the whole, I think that it's a right step in the right direction. But I think that a lot still needs to be desired.
When you talk about a lot, if you look at it, in the IGP deployed what people would call, some have said it is an overdose of security there. You have 1 DIG, 3 commissioners of police overseeing the 3 senatorial district, and of course we have 15,000 police officers there in that election. Was it over-policed or an okay?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, from, you know, the standpoint of an election, one can come to the conclusion that it's over police. But if we look at the history of elections in Nigeria, and particularly in Kogi State, if, you know, the historiography of election in that particular state is anything to go by, one must commend, you know, the Inspector General of Police for being that proactive to say, okay, if this is the litmus test for myself, for the president, and, I mean, for the new leadership of INEC, if this is what we're going to do to ensure that, I mean, we get a hitch-free, fair, credible election, then I think he should be commended.
You know, if you look at INEC, going back in time, history now, you realize that they have one sore point they've not been able to perfect, and that has to do with logistics. For this particular election, we saw that even though the time has been reduced, but they still have an addition of 1 hour 30 minutes into their accreditation time.
Yeah, you see, logistics is actually a problem that INEC must find a way of solving permanently. And one way of doing that is if, for example, the new INEC chairman can improve on the working of the card reader. I mean, once we're sure that the card readers will work 100%, I mean, it will also reduce this time of accreditation. After accreditation, you go home and then come back. I mean, if, you know, INEC gets its acts together and ensure that the card readers will work, then certainly people can come in, get accredited, because, I mean, there's a process of proving those who have been accredited, and then allow them to vote. That will reduce, you know, the election time, and then create enough time for collation, for counting and all that. Because voting, ensuring that voting is free, fair, is one leg of the election. Most of the manipulations come, you know, during collation. And that's also the time where all the security agencies would have been worn out, they will be less vigilant, and then, you know, all kinds of manipulations can come in. And that's also one thing that the political elites in Nigeria must understand. Democracy is not about voting alone. It's also about all the critical stakeholders understanding that they have a role to play, not only in the success of the election, but in the sustenance of democracy in the society. So if the time for accreditation and voting is reduced using technology, then, you know, counting, collation and all that could also be done in record time, such that at the end of the day, the whole process can be foolproof.
Dr. Dele Ashiru, thanks for spending time with us here on the News at 10.
It's my pleasure.
Still to come on the News at 10, more in the Kogi elections, and the federal government commences the process of returning displaced persons from the northeast who have been seeking refuge in Abuja back to their states. Stay with us.